Then I'm going to introduce you to our presenter. Layla Rosenberg is a teacher and coordinator for the Adult Secondary Program at Culver City Adult School. She's been teaching math for 24 years, so I guess she knows math. During the last 9 years, she's done work with OTAN, NROC, and CALPRO, speaking about math in adult education at webinars, conferences, and face-to-face workshops. So here's Layla.
Hello everybody, good morning. Let me know if you have any problem hearing me. First of all, welcome to the Math Instructional Strategies webinar. Thank you very much for spending a morning with me. Well, just an hour. This is our agenda for today. I'm going to show you right now. And as you can see, we have a busy workshop ahead of us. I hope you learned something new that you can use with your students. The PowerPoint that I'm showing is available for you to download so you can relax and listen as you go through the slides. All the information and where you should go, you can always download everything and it has information on the slide. I will explain the NRC Strands of Math, the College and Career Standards, show some classroom math strategies, discuss how to help students' math anxiety, which I saw in your poll. It was almost 100% that we have this in our classrooms, show some visual aids and areas of math skills. So let's embark on our journey. What you see here, this is the NRC, stands for the National Research Council. In 2002, they came out with a book named Adding It Up, Helping Children Learn Mathematics. The book focused on what makes students successful in math. This research formed the basis for today's presentation so that you can trust that teaching tips we will examine today will be effective. There are 5 strands of math proficiency. They are interwoven and work together just like the strands in this rope you see. The strands are adaptive reasoning, strategic competence, conceptual understanding, productive disposition, and procedural fluency. In our full-length community of practice, we carefully deal with what each strand is and what it means for our teaching practice. But in today's highlights presentation, we will briefly learn the meaning of each one and see a few lesson ideas to help you get a grasp of each one of them. So today's adult school standards are shifting toward the College and Career Readiness Standards, like the GED 2014, which we'll call from now on, since it's a very long title, we're going to call it CCR. So like the CCR, the questions on the GED focus more on mathematical reasoning skills. They provide specifications for assessing real-world problem-solving skills in a mathematical context, rather than just requiring the students only to memorize, recognize, apply formulas. To better understand what each of the CCR topics cover, please go to the link on this slide. Each standard is explained in detail. The link you will open is a very long document, but if you go to page 48, you will find the explanations. In this case here, I put together on this screen the College and Career Readiness Standards, which is the focus of the adult schools in California today, and the NRC stands. The relationship shown here between CCR and NRC is the result of presenting this to several math teachers. You will notice that some of the standards are a little bit abstract. Perhaps, you would combine these columns in a different way. So this is what I got when I talked to other teachers and asked them. They compared strategic competence with use appropriate tools strategically. Productive disposition corresponding to model with mathematics. Procedural fluency to look for and make use of structure. Conceptual understanding with reason abstractly and quantitatively. Adaptive reasoning, again with reason abstractly and quantitatively. Procedural fluency, to look for and make use of structure. Strategic competence, with construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. Conceptual understanding, with look for and express regularity in repeated reasoning. Procedural fluency, with look for and make up structure. Conceptual understanding, with making sense of problems and persevere in solving them. And the last one, strategic competence, to look for and express regularity with repeated reasoning. As you can see, even though you have 5 items in the NRC Strands and 8 in the CCR, in one way or another, they are related. But as I said, perhaps you would discuss this with your other teachers and choose to do this in a different way. But in one way or the other, they are related. Now, let's take a look. From this slide on, I just want to say you have this red and green. What you see in red is the NRC Strand, from what I'm talking, and in green, the CCR standards. Dr. Jennifer Su of George Mason University has a wonderful website with great information on how teachers can practically apply the NRC Strands in their classrooms. This slide lists 3 of her examples of how to teach conceptual understanding. These are only examples, they are really not exhaustive. We support a conceptual understanding when we teach vocabulary, make concept maps showing the relationship between a new concept and other math concepts that we know, and when we ask students to express the concept in multiple ways, such as drawing, calculating, making a story problem. Take a look at these 2 concept maps in this slide. The quadrilateral concept on your left explains how the variation of size and angles form different shapes. The concept map on your right describes a student's thinking process about a linear measurement. And this is very good so that the students show their thinking process, the reasoning needed, which is right now the big thing on the new GD. Now let's take a look at one more. Let's look at this page here. At this page showing the definition, the word symmetry. Let's say you're teaching symmetry. Pay attention to the fact that the student does not simply copy the book's definition, but use her own words. Draw examples and connect the word to the real life with this picture of the flower. So this is a wonderful way of teaching symmetry, instead of just saying, well, symmetry means blah, 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 giving the definition, but really conceptualizing so that this word will stay in the student mind. If you want, you can download this template from Dr. Su's website, which is listed on your slide. Now that you have seen a few examples of the conceptual understanding strand, let's move on to the procedural fluency. Procedural fluency is defined as the skill in carrying out procedures flexibly, accurately, efficiently, appropriately. Procedural fluency goes beyond speed drills and memorization because it asks students to be flexible with procedures. It wants the students to recognize that there is more than one way to solve a problem. Countdown is a fun game that you can play with your students in either small group or whole class format to promote number flexibility. This is based on a popular British game show. Unfortunately, we will not show this on this webinar since we cannot open YouTube in this online setting, but still it's something I wanted to share with you so that you can check it later. It's something very interesting and fun, so make sure to come back and take a look at this. Now, the game is like that. You choose a group of starting numbers and a target number. And then you see who can get closest to this target number by adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing the starting numbers. For example, let's say you pick as starting numbers 2, 4, and 5. Okay? So the target number will be 12. One way you can do it is, let's see if I can put here an arrow for you to see. One way you can do this is you're doing 4 times 5, 20, and 2 times 4, 8, and then 20 minus 8, 12. Okay? Another person would do 5 times 2, 10, and 10 plus 2, 12. So there are lots of different ways of doing, but the students are playing games and seeing how can you reach this number. Let me show you some more about this. Countdown is an easy and fast game that you can do without purchasing any materials or doing prep work. However, for those of you who really like this game, you may be interested in knowing that there is a 99-cent app available for smartphones. So, hopefully our students will get addicted to this and will just spend a lot of time doing this. Barb, you're asking me if you have a question. Feel free, if you have any questions, to write down, and I'll be glad to go through this as soon as we stop for questioning, okay? Let me show you this now. Let's try to play this game now, okay? Look at the numbers given. You have 100. Hold on, my screen just went slow. It's small here. 100, 4, 25, 75, 2, and 5. Okay? And the target number is 867. Try to reach 867 or as close as possible to it as your target. I wrote my answer on the slide as an example. So I use, at the bottom of the page, I have 100 times 4 is 400 right here, and then I did 400 times 2, 800, 800 plus 75, 875 minus 5, 870, then I did minus 5 again, 867, then I added 2 and got 867 finally. So after 6 steps, I got to my target number. When you use this on the internet in your classroom, you can turn on the timer. This is a timer right here. And you can open the notepad, or you can turn on the calculator. You have a calculator right here. You have a notepad here. So, and also you can choose bigger or smaller numbers according to the student's level that you have. So I will give you 2 minutes for you to think a way to get to 867. Then please write on the open chat box how you reached the target. I'll be quiet for 2 minutes as you try to do this. Don't forget to write your calculations on the chat box, okay? You're welcome to use a calculator if you want. So let's start.
Karen, you're only hearing the music because we're doing math right now and people are posting their answers in the chat box. You can pause it yourself or you can turn it down if you want. You are connected and hearing the music means you're in. You don't have to use all the numbers, Layla. Thank you. Yay.
Okay, everybody, 2 minutes off. I can see you had come up with some good ideas of how to do this. I gave a very challenged number that Marion said, perhaps you should use a smaller one, but I can see you doing great. Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and for the input you're having here. So this is a very wonderful game that you can use as students. You can adapt to different levels by adjusting the rules. You use more or less numbers and adjust the difficulty to meet the needs of your class. You might even have different rules for different groups in your class. For example, you could challenge your advanced students to use every number exactly one time, while allowing your beginning students to use a number more than once and leave out other numbers altogether. Asking a student to be your assistant who checks the word or order the work of others with a calculator can empower a beginner, by helping them to participate in the activity. As you see, this can be a very easy something that you do with your students in the classroom, and this is an online one, but you have the app, you have in YouTube different ways of doing. The reason I like this one because it has the timer working and you can pick the numbers if you want smaller or bigger numbers with your students. So we are going back to these slides right now, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for all this input. Beautiful. Well done. So let's move on to our next strand. And this is our third NRC strand called strategic competence, which is the ability to formulate, represent, and solve mathematical problems. Examples here, you can use questioning strategies to deepen thinking or teach problem-solving strategies. A great way to teach problem-solving strategies is to go over them in a class and then reinforce them through posters around your classroom. In addition, give students a reference list of strategies that you have taught so they can refer to them when they are outside of your classroom. Let's see one way of teaching problem solving that is very interesting. This is an example of problem solving strategy. This online resource is called Thinking Blocks. Again, I'm giving you the link, so just relax. You're going to get the PowerPoint and you're welcome to go through all of this by yourself later. This online resource called Thinking Blocks, you can choose word problems about add, subtract. Let me see if I can put the link here for you. Hold on. Here on this part you see you have add, subtract, multiply, divide, fractions, decimals and percents, ratios, and algebra. So lots of things that you can choose. You can, if you click on view mode, in my case I chose an algebra question. If you click here where it says view mode, this is what you would see. Since I'm not really online, I just made a copy of the screen for you to see how it will look. So this is what you see if you click on view mode, okay? So now let's read this question. Chloe, Katerina, and Abby have sold a total of 260 play tickets. Abby sold 56 more play tickets than Chloe. Katerina sold 48 fewer play tickets than Chloe. So far I'm understanding Katerina is the one who's sold the least. How many play tickets did Katerina sell? This is a common question that you may have today in the new GED with more reasoning questions in algebra. So from what you understand here, I have Katerina, who is the one who did the least amount. She sold the less amount of tickets. So, and Chloe did somewhere in the middle, and Abby sold more than everybody else. So usually in the question like this, we'll call X the person who sold the least, which was Katerina. Chloe sold X plus something else. Abby also sold X and much more. Chloe, so reading this carefully, Chloe sold X plus 48, right? And Abby sold what Chloe did plus 56. So the visual understanding of the amount of each one, it's very important. Most of the times the students read this and they go into this la-la land of say, forget it, I can't do this, let me get to the next one. It's not a very big paragraph, but it has a lot of information. If they can see visually with these blocks what is happening, then they are able to solve it. And this is just one example about algebra. As I showed you, there are many, many, many examples that you can create by using this. You can also add your own word problem and use the choices in the lower part. Let me show you with the arrow again. In this part right here, you can come up with your own options. You can put add blocks, you can show or hide a grid, and have many other options available. I would call this an online manipulative tool. I would like to suggest that you spend some time playing with this site. It gives the student a visual understanding of a word problem, which is usually so difficult for the students to understand. They read this and they, many times, they don't even know where to start. So have some fun and spend some time doing this one. It's very good. Now let's see, another way to teach strategic competence is through patterns. A beginning student starts simply by counting. They count by ones, then by twos, by fives, by tens. These patterns give students a natural strategy to understand addition and multiplication. When considering a pattern like 2, 4, 6, and we ask what will be the 50th number in this pattern, the beginning student will ask herself, well, by what number can I add or count, to get to the next number in the pattern, and then the next, and then the next, and that's how the student, a beginning student would do to get to the 50th one. As students get more experience, her knowledge of patterns advances from sums to products. So when asked for the 50th number in the pattern, she will know to multiply 2 times 50 and say 100. And in this case here, adult students can start to understand functions such as the function of x is equal to 2x plus 2, where x is numerical sequence 0, 1, 2, 3, and so far. They begin with simple in-out machine and gradually adapt their understanding to the abstractions of the algebra. In this example, I have, let me get my arrow back here. Hold on. I have x, the function of x being 2x plus 2 is, and you get y as your output. So when x is 0, you're substituting x for 0, so 2 times 0 is 0, and y is 2. When x is 1, I substitute the x for 1, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 2, y is 4. When x is 2, function of 2, so 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 is 6. When x is 3, function is 2 times 3 is 6, and y is 4. At this level, the adult students reach the higher level abstract thinking that is necessary to solve more complex problems. So at this level, the student can predict the next step, that if x is 4, then y is 10, because as x increases by 1, y increases by 2. And this is the level where we need to reach with our students who are studying right now for much serious, questions in the new GED 2014. Now, sometimes the right strategy is just to guess. In the multiple choice questions of the new GED, there are only 4 options instead of 5, like the old GED. This increases the chance of getting a right answer from 20 to 25%. If you can eliminate 2 of the multiple choices as not being possible answers, you increase your chance of guessing the right answer to 50%. The next NRC Strand we will discuss the adaptive reasoning. Adaptive reasoning is the capacity for logical thought, reflection, explanation, and justification. We want students to talk about math so that they learn to explain their reasons for attacking different problems in different ways. This promotes better learning than merely asking a student to always apply the same limited set of memorized algorithms again and again. Dr. Su suggests the following examples of how to teach adaptive reasoning. Use math talk to encourage students to discuss math. Ask students to reflect on problem solving and have students make posters that prove how they arrived to a solution. She has a downloadable Convince Me worksheet on her website that guides students in explaining how they arrived to a solution. So let's take a look at this next slide. Notice how the sentence starters guide students into discussing their reasons for coming up with a solution that they did. The worksheet includes space for examples, drawings, and calculations. So in this example, a student wants to convince the teacher or her friends that 3/4 is greater than 5/8, and in 3 different ways she explained her reasoning. I use Convince Me in my classroom, and just yesterday during a class about slopes, I told my students that it doesn't matter which 2 points they pick in the line, the slope will always be the same. As my students are used to hear me say, convince me, when they come up with a conclusion, yesterday was very funny because one of my students told me to convince him that it was true, that any 2 points on the line will give the same slope. So the class started to laugh, but I was very happy to see they understand the reasoning behind this strategy. So you can always ask the student, to write down. You can have this page available, or just ask, do you think this is the way? Convince me. So they have to go behind, and really think, how did you get here? What was your thinking thoughts about this? It helps the student to explain and helps the others who are listening. Now the last NRC strand is productive disposition. This is the habitual inclination to see mathematics as sensible, useful, worthwhile, coupled with a belief in diligence and one's own efficacy. Well, let's break down this definition. Students with productive disposition think that math is useful and will actually be helpful in their real life. They believe that they can be effective at math. This doesn't necessarily mean that math is easy for them. It just means they believe that they can eventually understand if they work diligently at it. It's nice when a teacher connects math to real life as they teach, but it's even better when the student can originate these examples. Dr. Su has an example of a downloadable worksheet that allows students to report a math happening, which is her name for a real-life math event. Let's take a look at this. So she leaves this page on, you can leave this in your classroom. In the top box, students describe their math problem. In the next 4 boxes, they can either describe how they solved it, or they can challenge other students to solve it. Either way, this activity promotes many of the other NRC strands, while also helping students to make the connection between math and their daily lives. These are great for putting up around the classrooms. It's very good that the students understand that there is a need for them to learn math. Just why I'm never gonna do this in my life. I don't need to do this. I'm just doing this because I need to graduate. We need to change this mindset and explain and let the students believe that they are using math all the time. Look at this example. Another way to connect math to real life is just to take pictures when it comes across it. I love this receipt. The tip was 3.14, so the person just wrote pi. This is a great application of pi. And now, at this point, we are now finished with today's discussion of the NRC strands and the CCR strands. I hope that the highlights I have shared with you have stimulated your interest. I encourage you to attend the community of practice in order to better understand and apply the standards. What we have seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, I would like to move on to the next item in our agenda, which I saw almost 100% of you have problems with your students, which is math anxiety. Here are a few tips for you to help your students with math anxiety. Prioritize skills to be taught. Make connections to students' lives. Take time to address vocabulary issues. Focus on core concepts. Select user-friendly books. Individualize instruction. Use appropriate technology. Be flexible with teaching techniques. Provide students with test-taking strategies, and become familiar with the NRC and the CCR Math Proficient attributes so you can support your student learning. Today, I would like to highlight teaching tip number 3, which is to take time to address vocabulary issues. Many people believe that math is a universal language since 1 plus 2 is 3 in every country. However, math actually places a great deal of language demands on our students. We will better serve all of our students and our English language learners in particular if we take the time to teach the language of math. Do these instructions make you anxious? If I ask you to do this now for a grade, could you? This is often how our students feel when they do not understand math vocabulary. It is our job to help them to fill in the gaps in their knowledge. If I click, the missing words appear. Now, do you understand the directions? Did knowing the words reduce your anxiety? So imagine our students saying, to change a blah into a blah, if the blah are the things that they are reading, but they don't know the meanings. We need to help our students. Math is a whole new language that we don't use all the time, and if they don't know the vocabulary, they don't even know what they are being asked. Let's look at a fun way to teach vocabulary. Since we are in a webinar, I will show you pictures of body movements that correspond to this arm exercise, but I want you to have this slide so you can use it in your classroom. To show undefined slope, you can show it by doing movements or by using your arms. So in this one, you're seeing a vertical line with your arms showing undefined slope, and the right side a negative slope. In the left side here, somebody showing a positive slope with the arms, and a horizontal line, zero slope. So very easy to do this. I show this all the time with my students, and they move around so that they can easily recognize at least if it's zero, undefined, positive, or negative slopes. We have covered the NRC Math Standards and touched upon one way to help students to reduce math anxiety. I would like to move on to the next item in our agenda, which are manipulatives, visual aids, and graphic organizers that help all students. They're especially helpful for English language learners because they allow students to demonstrate high-quality math thinking with relatively low language demand. In this case, if you join our community of practice, you will get a chance to work with various manipulatives, visual aids, and graphic organizers, including a T-chart for adding and subtracting positive and negative integers, compare and contrast diagram like the Venn diagram that you have here as an example, graphic organizers for word problems, hierarchical graph organizers, vertical number elevators, order of operation ladder, sequence chart, and box multiplication chart. These are many things that we teach when we have the full community of participants involved in this full-time. I think it's a 3 hours meeting. We are doing a highlight today. Let's take a look at a T-chart for adding and subtracting integers for positive and negative. In this case, I have -6 plus positive 2. You can use this in a PowerPoint slide. You can also easily do this in your classroom with either a document camera or an overhead transparency projector. To use a document camera, make a T-chart on a piece of paper and use dry beans as counters. Or if you have an overhead transparency projector, make a transparency of the T-chart. Then simply place the dry bean counters directly on the projector, and then they will show up as a dark shadow, and your students will easily be able to count them. Having the PowerPoint, this is a very beautiful way of showing. So since it's saying -6, I'm putting 6 circles on the negative side and 2 on the positive side. Since I have 2 in the positive, I can cancel with 2 in the negative. So let's cancel them out, and I will end up with my answer, which is -4. Let's try another one. If I have +4 plus -3, so I have +4, so I'm putting 4 circles on the positive side, and I have -3, so I'm putting 3 circles on the negative side. Again, I can cancel 3 in the negative with 3 in the positive, so let's do that, and I will end up with the answer, which is +1. Very easy to show, to see it, so that they don't just memorize, okay, just subtract, put the sign of the bigger digit or something like this. They really see what's going on. Let's do one more example here. Let's say I have -2 plus -3. So -2 on the left side, and then I have to add -3 also to the left side. And there is nothing on the right side, so there is nothing to cancel. So yes, my answer will be -5. Now let's take a look. I have tried to highlight a little bit of the material from different sections of the community of practice for you here today. We have finishing discussing the highlights from NRC Strands and CCR standards, talked about one of many ways to address math anxiety, and just finished a hands-on activity highlighting the value of manipulatives, visual aids, and graphic organizers. Now it's time for us to move on to the next piece of our agenda, which is math skill areas. In the community of practice, we spend a great deal of time looking at math skill areas that commonly appear on standardized tests such as the CASE and the GED. We give our participants plenty of hands-on time with different lessons addressing these areas. These areas are number sense, measurement and geometry, statistics, data analysis and probability, algebra and functions, math reasoning, and algebra. Let's take a look of number sense, just as a highlight for today. I want to share with you just one of many different activities we do in our community of practice to address the area of building number sense. Remember that number sense includes things like understanding that 5/10 is the same as 50%, which is the same as 0.5. Also includes the ability to see equivalent fractions so that Students understand that 1/2 is the same thing as 2/4, the same as 3/6, and so far. In this here, this is from Kate Nonesush. She has a wonderful book titled Changing the Way We Teach Math, a manual for teaching basic math to adults, that has a wealth of lesson ideas. I highly recommend it. You can actually download the entire book for free. One of the lesson ideas in her book is an activity called human fractions. It's a quick activity that appeals to kinesthetic learner. It's good for teaching equivalent fractions and adding fractions. It is best to do it once a day or for several days for reinforcement. It's also a great energetic activity to pop into the middle of a class to wake up everyone when the class is going too slow. In this game, we ask students to form groups based on what they are wearing in order to create a specific fraction. For example, the groups in these photographs could have formed after the teacher said to form a group where half of the students were wearing glasses. So the group on the left represents 1/2, and the group on the right represents 2/4. Here let me show you right now how to do this. Unfortunately, in a webinar, we're not going to be playing this, but this, I want you to have it so you can use it with your students in your classroom. You form groups of any size as long as half of the people are wearing X. You pick what? Glasses, red shirt, jeans, anything. And then 2, ask each group what fraction of the people in this group are wearing X. You count the groups to check, you write the fractions on the board, and then you combine the small groups into bigger groups in order to write more and more fractions until the entire class is combined. Since we can't do this by moving around, since we're all sitting in our chairs, I just made these pictures here for us to play. Let's try out these human fractions. Let's see in the picture here on the left. In this picture right here, okay, what fraction of the people are wearing colored shirts? Who can answer me? Please put in the chat box. What's the fraction of people that are wearing colored shirts? Anyone? 2 of 6, perfect. 2, 6, thank you. Thank you for your input, everybody. Perfect. Another thing that you can do, thank you, or 1/3 if you want to go lower term, great. 2, 6 or 1/3, they're both right. Thank you. Another thing you can use when you're doing this is teach ratio. Thank you, Jill. If I ask you what's the ratio of light shirts to colored shirts, what would you answer? Question 2. What's the ratio of light shirts to colored shirts? 1 to 2, perfect, or 2 to 4. 4 to, yes, thank you so much. So this will be 4 to 2 or 2 to 1. If you go lower, if you want to lower, to simplify. Perfect. Let's see this question here. And just for you to know, I already counted, so you don't have to count the total of people in this picture. There are 17 of them. So what fraction of the people are women here? The total is 17, okay, 8 out of 17, 8 17s. Imagine your students moving around and creating these groups so they visually see what's going on. 8 17s. Let's see question number 4. What's the ratio of men to women? Oh my, you are good, very good students here. Thank you for participating and sharing, giving me all your input. Okay, men to women, 9 to 8. Perfect. Good job. Last question of the day. What's the ratio of men to total? Men to total, 9 to 17. Beautiful. Ah, you are working very hard here, my. Beautiful. It's good the weekend is coming, so you have to rest. Thank you so much for all this input you are writing. Thank you. So imagine in a classroom that the students are moving around and then, you can really represent what is happening. So let's move on to the next. Now I have shown you 9 different strategies. What I want you to think now is which strategy, which teaching tip is your favorite? What strategy can you use next time you teach? Which strategy will benefit your student the most when you are in your classroom? Just to give you a little refresher, I'm going to go fast through the slides that I showed you. There are 9 strategies. We just did the human fractions. We went through the T-chart for adding and subtracting positive and negative integers. I showed you how to show slopes using your body. To give definition of math in real life with this sheet about what math happened to you. The convince me page that you can write or just ask the students to reason by saying it. The thinking block, the countdown, the concept maps, and the symmetry for vocabulary page. So just here you have 9 slides of things that you have seen. So please reflect. What would be your most important thing that you could use next time you go to your class? Try to answer here in this chart, in the chat box. Wow, thank you. I see lots of stuff that you could use. Lots of students, I can see a lot you would use with your students. Convince me, the T-chart, the human fractions. I think, I don't see one that haven't been chosen from all the choices in both chat boxes here. The thinking blocks. It is really amazing. There are lots of ways that we can help our students. We have a big challenging year ahead of us with the new GD 2014, and I can understand your need for strategies, just like I feel myself overwhelmed with the new things that needed to be done for the new GD that is coming out. I am open also to questions. I am done and would love to hear if you have any questions that I can answer. I'm reading all your things here. Yes. Teaching accounting, a verbal explanation will make sense. Thank you, Carl, for your opinion. T-charge. Alice, all this information is on the slide that you can download from this. I think, Marian, do you have the downloadable file for them? It's going to be right there. Thank you.
Yeah, working on it.
Sure, no problem.
This is just-in-time delivery.
So you can have this, make sure to download the PowerPoint at home so you have it in your computer. And all the links, or books, everything I mentioned are written on the screen so you can use them.
Okay, so the slides are uploading right now. You should see them now. Just a second, I'm going to resize this because it doesn't need to be gigantic. So you click on the name of the handout and then you click on Save to My Computer. It's going to open up another browser window probably behind this meeting. You're not going to see it right away, so you're going to have to look sorry, at your the other browser windows you have open to find it probably. But we'll give you a few minutes to do that. Actually, any other questions? Materials in Spanish? Alice, I think we just answered that, how to download the slides.
Maria, let me write my email. I have a few things that I can give you in Spanish. I am writing my email on the smaller chat box. You're welcome to email me and I will give you some information about what to do, things you can find in Spanish. All of you, in fact, you're welcome to contact me. I think we math teachers in adult ed are very squeezed group that need a lot of attention and need to be contacted all the time. Feel free to contact me. I'll be glad to be part of this group.
There is also an email list for GED teachers that dealing with the new GED. Hosted through OTAN, and I think I don't have I'll look for the instructions, but if you're interested, you can email me. I'll put my email in there to get onto that list.
Curtis, you asking me about word problem. The one that I showed you about the thinking blocks, you can use for word problems in everything. It has add, subtract, multiply, divide, fractions, ratio, algebra, percents, absolutely all kinds of stuff. And if you don't want to use their word problems, you can make input your own word problems and still use all the tools available for you to show the thinking blocks.
So Chris said the recording of this session will be available probably early next week on the CalPro website, and you can download the slides from there if you don't get them right now. And also, if you just can't, if the download isn't working for you, you can email me and I will send them to you.
Marian, perhaps you want to explain about the CalPro offerings now?
I do. Yeah. So, so Layla's given you a taste of what's in the CalPro Regional Community of Practice. Regional means it's face-to-face, not entirely online. There's a part of it that's online, and then there's 2 face-to-face meetings. So if you want to learn more about these strategies, or teachers at your site or teachers in your region, this is the information to contact Charisse Moore, cmoore@air.org, to set that up. I think we're pretty maxed out for the spring semester, but we'll be doing more in the summer and the fall. So go ahead and contact Charisse if you would like to have that offered for your teachers. And there's also an online course that you can just take. There's no facilitator, but you just go in there, register for it, and take it at your own pace. That has a lot of information as well. Okay, everyone.
Thank you,
wow.
Marian.
How perfect is that, Layla? Perfect timing.
Yes, British, not Brazilian time, huh? Okay, everybody, thank you. We have reached the end of today's presentation. Remember, today's highlight session was just the tip of the iceberg. Try to join a community of practice to get even more teaching ideas grounded in best practices. Before you leave, please complete the online evaluation that Marian is going to put on the screen. Your feedback is very important because it will help me as a presenter, and it will give CALPRO to adjust its presentation if it's needed. We really value your opinion. So don't forget to download the PowerPoint to your computer. And finally, I just would like to give you my most sincere thank you, for your enthusiastic participation today. I'm really honored to be your colleague. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. And have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Okay, I'm going to close the meeting, and when it closes, it's going to take you to the evaluation form, so please fill it out. And thank you very much for attending.